So, if you're here right now, that means that you've watched the part one of this video with my friend JeSani, where I'm talking about pretty much where I stand right now in my faith. Now you're about to watch the part two, because it was such a riveting conversation. I just felt like maybe I had to break this up into two parts so that you guys could really understand everything. So yeah, if you haven't seen the part one yet, please definitely go and check that out. And also, I want to invite you guys to check out the description where the book that I mentioned in this video can be found, the audiobook at least. And if you want to get the hard copy, definitely go and do that. But please be easy as you watch this video, just like I said in the part one. This is the first time that I'm sharing my thoughts like publicly on this matter, and I just, yeah, I'd prefer that people be easy with me, and not make this more scary than it already is. So without further ado, let's go. One of the things that I like was hearing you talk about, like first of all, like a lot of things that you were talking about, I've not only already like thought already, but like, I just kind of like already like believe. So one of the things that you said, for example, that I was hearing was this idea of clarifying versus coercing, which again, I made a video on that a while back, where essentially I was saying that I've really gotten to a point where when I first became a Christian, and then again, this kind of like ties in with another point that I wanted to like bring in, so I'm trying to like weave it all together. I made a video a few years ago called "Heart of an Evangelist," and in that video, I pretty much like I started off by reading off this thing that I'm pretty sure now, like back then, I didn't. I was so naive. I thought that it was actually written by an atheist, but now it's actually written by like now I'm like, oh wait, no, this was probably written by a Christian. But essentially, I'm gonna go ahead and like read it right now, real quick. It's called Letter from oh yeah, it's called Letter from an Atheist. Um, there it is. Dear Christian. Um, wow, August 1st, 2012. That was a long time ago when I saved this into my notes. But it says, Dear
Yeah.
Christian, you are really convinced that you've got all the answers. You've really got yourself tricked into believing that you're 100% right. Well, let me tell you just one thing. Do you consider yourself to be compassionate of other humans? If you're right,
Mm.
as you say you are, and believe that, then how can you sleep at night when you speak with me? You are speaking with someone who you believe is walking directly into eternal damnation, into an endless onslaught of horrendous pain which your loving yet righteous God created. Yet you stand by and do nothing. If you believe one bit that thousands every day were falling into an eternal and unreachable fate, you should be running the streets mad with rage at their blindness. That's equivalent to standing on a street corner and watching every person that passes you walk blindly directly into the path of a bus and die. Yet you stand idly by and do nothing. You're just twiddling your thumbs, happy in the knowledge that one day that walk signal will shine your way across the road. Think about it. Imagine the horrors hell must have in store if the Bible is true. You're just going to allow that to happen and not care about saving anyone but yourself?
Mm.
If you're right, then you're an uncaring, unemotional, and purely selfish expletive that has no right to talk about subjects such as love and caring. Sincerely, a lost soul. So I started off that video like reading that. And again, the video is called like Heart of an Evangelist. And I pretty much in that video I bring both perspectives. I'm like, so this again, I thought from reading that, like, when I first saved it in 2012, as naive as I was, I thought that potentially an actual atheist may have written that to a Christian. Now, as I'm older, I'm like, oh, probably a Christian wrote that. But still, the point still stays there. Like, it's like, this is the perspective of many Christians. Like a lot of people, they get upset because they feel like Christians are trying to like coerce them into their belief and
Yeah.
everything. But from the Christian's perspective, and I'm not saying this is right, I'm not saying that their perspective is right, and I'm not saying that the way they go about it is right. But from a Christian perspective, that's why that they do it. It's because they're like, man, if I don't help you come to Christ, you are going to die and go to hell. And I am going to feel so bad about that. And that's the mindset that I had when I first came into Christianity as well. And this might sound bad to a lot of people, but now I've really come around to where you are. And I believe that, again, that doesn't mean that we stop having conversations, but the idea of evangelism is different now. I can't just go around coercing people to believe whatever I believe. Now, what I do is I clarify. I'm like, okay, this is what I believe, and this is why. I looked into this and I looked into that. Oh, I haven't looked into that yet. Thanks for recommending that. I want to go look into that too. But this is just why I believe it. And if you want to be down with it, I can continue to tell you more, help you down that path. And if not, that's also cool. And I feel like that I used to feel bad about having that mindset because I felt like that type of Christian that this atheist, quote unquote, is, referring to. Like, why am I not running the streets mad like I used to, trying to preach to everyone? Like, so person at the McDonald's drive-through, do you know Jesus Christ? Because if you don't, you're probably, what if you get hit by a car and you go into hell? This could be your opportunity. You know what I mean?
Can we
Like,
talk about that really quickly?
like, yeah. So like yeah, definitely go ahead. Yeah, say something.
I I'm very careful
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not saying that evangelism is a problem.
Right.
What I'm saying, I don't think using fear as a tactic
Mm-hmm.
to make somebody love Jesus
Mm-hmm.
is really the approach we should go.
Yeah.
Um, I'm all for the passion. I'm all for the because you know me, I'm a really excited person and I'm really chill. Like you guys don't know me, but like I'm really chill until we start talking about Jesus and like family and like psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
but I just telling people they should love Jesus simply so they don't go to hell.
Yeah.
I feel like is not the
That's love.
great understanding of
Yeah.
God. Yes, do we get to spend an eternity with him if even if you believe in the concept of hell, which is a whole nother conversation, but historically speaking, there is Christians have understood this place of hell being a place where you're just separated from God, and that's all I'm saying. Whether it's eternal damnation, all those other things, we'll just say that hell is just really a place that okay. But the point is, I don't I don't want to run to God because I'm fearful of
Right.
the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
I want to run to God because I believe he's better
Mm.
than the alternative.
Right. Oh, that's good.
I want to run to God because I want to see that he is actually the best thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And seeing that he is the best thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't experience the alternative.
Mm.
As opposed to assuming, oh, I'm going to go to God because I'm scared of this alternative
Yeah.
or I want to avoid something.
Right.
Um, Approach. It's really about approach and it's really about the motive. And please hear me, I'm not saying hell does not exist.
Right.
What I'm saying is using hell as the first means or first reasoning why somebody should be saved.
Mm-hmm.
I just I don't I just
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I had to learn myself as well. And I feel like a lot of old head type Christians, like, I remember like Jamila, she went to a Christian camp at one point a few years ago, and one of the dudes that she was hanging out with when they were like out like evangelizing whatever, the dude literally said the gospel is unsolicited, and it's like, oh
oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he literally said that. Like, and in his mind, again, he's seeing as like people are dying. We need to save their souls. And so it's like people listening right now that are not Christians, I want you to know that as hard as it might be to believe, Christians really do, at least most of them, have good intentions.
Yeah.
The way they're going about it, a lot of times is not, in my opinion, the best way. So that was
Because
one thing that I
literally building an entire relationship based off fear, which
yeah,
is literally the opposite.
yeah.
So we don't
And the
understand.
Bible itself even
Yeah,
says love, like perfect love casts out fear.
exactly.
So
Exactly. So yeah.
that shouldn't really be a thing. And then that even weaves in yet another thing, so you talked about this concept called Pascal's wager. So that's
I
like,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, I know. I didn't really know that either. Some INTJ on I actually had heard about it one time, but now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna actually remember the name of it. Like an INTJ guy, like on Twitter, he had introduced it to me. He said, like, so would you say that you resonate with Pascal's wager? And I read it. I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of like my philosophy, which is pretty much the whole notion that like, okay, I'd rather live my life believing that God is real and that there's meaning and there's this and this and that, and then die and then nothing really happens, than to live my life as if there's not a God, and the next thing you know, I find out that there is after I die, and then now I'm going to hell and I'm wishing that whatever. In a nutshell. And then this guy who had presented that, he said, like, the problem that I have with Pascal's wager is that I lose a lot, because how do I then know that I'm serving the right God? How do I then know that, it is Christianity and not Mormonism or not Islam or not Buddhism or not this or not that, not that? You're really having a wager, not just with Christianity versus atheism, but now Christianity versus Mormonism, Christianity versus Jehovah's Witness, Christianity versus whatever. And everything, again, holds itself up. So we can be listening to all the Ravi Zachariases, forgetting that there's a Ravi Zacharias in Islam too. There's a Ravi Zacharias in all of these other places.
Yeah.
And then that then brings me down to the subject of faith, where pretty much like I'd written down something important here, but I can't really remember. Oh yeah, how you had said about like it's almost worse to kind of like live life not believing in God in a way, because then you're going to digest that. It's going to come out like it like at the end of the day, like I guess the two things that I'd have to say about that is that once I started down this kind of like thought trail and thinking about all of these things, I decided two things. Number one, I believe that if, not saying that I have and I plan to, but if I were to kind of go the Clay Arnall route, um, and walk away from the faith for whatever reason, or not really believe in it anymore, I think that's like I would not become the type of person that would try to disprove it. Like there's people who walk away from the faith and they go out and they're like, so you believe in it, you believe in Jesus? Let me tell you this. And like they're trying to like get you not to believe. Rather, I believe that I would be the type of person that actually, and this is definitely gonna horrify a lot of people, but it's gonna be a little bit of a paradox too. I would actually choose at that point to have a stronger faith than what I did before. But now it's going to be a conscious faith. It's going to be, you know what? Wow, I don't really think I believe in this anymore. But my life has been better because I believed in it. And so therefore, I'm going to make myself believe this, even though in the back of my head, I know that I don't really believe this, because this faith is what helped me meet my wife. This faith is what helped me make so many good friends and have the morals that I did. This faith is what kept my parents together, married, when they could not see each other for 8 years. You know, it's like this faith has done me so well that, just like what you said, JeSani, it would probably be worse if I didn't believe in a God and all of that. And so if I was to be around Christians who fully believed and are fully convinced and all of that, then I would kind of play the part.
And to me, I wouldn't see that as like hypocritical, but I'd see it as like, this is helpful for me. Like, I need to believe in this, and I can't help that I don't really believe in it. But what I can do is I can choose to just have the faith, which is essentially what I believe a lot of Christians are doing anyway, even if
Mhm.
there's a little bit of a caveat. They are choosing, which is kind of like what you said. I don't know what this means, but I'm choosing to believe that God is good. I'm choosing to believe that God not only knows what's best and wants what's best. I think the only difference at that point would then be going back to the evangelism. Now, when somebody further comes to me and they're trying to like express where their perspective is and everything, I'm not going to be as gun ho about like, again, trying to save them and trying to do this and trying to do that. Because I'm going to go right back to the clarifying. And I'm going to be honest with them like, hey, honestly, if you don't believe, I guess that's cool. I struggled a lot with my faith too. And to be honest, I kind of still do until if you want me to be completely candid with you, I just decided to believe it, not blindly. There's reason to believe it. Like there is reason out there. There's a lot of intellectual people who truly believe in this. So it's not like a blind, illogical thing to believe in.
Mhm.
But there are some things here and there that I'm just like, yeah, I haven't really made sense of that. And again, because Christianity can hold itself up together, then one of the arguments for that would be like, well, that's because God works in mysterious ways. You will never be able to fully understand God. That's why you have to have faith. And if that's true, then I guess that's true, And so therefore, I'm just going to accept that, and I'm choosing to believe in that sense, because that's what works for me. But then that also goes into what I now call like a Venn diagram. And this is something that I've really been struggling with. And I think it's I'm gonna weave it into like the last point that I have. But yeah, so the Venn diagram is pretty much this idea that okay, what I've had to do is like this circle, like how a Venn diagram is, this is what I believe, just Denzel. Then this is what my understanding of theology is, just theology from my understanding. And then in the middle, this is what both Denzel and both Denzel's understanding of like theology is like in agreement with. And
Interesting.
because I'm a Christian, or even if anything, actually, which is another thing, I kind of, it's semantics, but I like to now go by the term Jesus follower
Mhm.
rather than Christian
Yeah.
because there's so much that goes with it. But yeah, so because
Yeah.
I'm somebody who follows Jesus or like believes in Jesus in that way, then I'm going to choose to believe what theology is saying. So what do I mean by that? Again, candid concepts. So if you've been listening this far and you've been watching the video this far, you're getting some real thoughts from me. Homosexuality.
Mhm.
First of all, I'm not homosexual. I don't struggle with that. Not no offense to anybody who does, but I just want to make that very clear before somebody has thoughts. Like homosexuality. From my understanding of theology, regardless of whatever my feelings or thoughts are, just from my understanding, it seems that the Bible, according to, like God, according to the Bible and everything, is not okay with it. And that is just something that would be in this side of the Venn diagram. Like, this is just what, from my understanding, God isn't okay with. Now, on this side of the Venn diagram, what Denzel believes, Denzel does not care. You do you, just don't do me. like like that's, I do not care what, like, who. Sure, love is love, whatever, although then that crosses over into like, oh, then if love is love, then how about pedophilia? And
Yeah. Yeah.
see, and now there's some other stuff over there too, and one could argue maybe that's why God set things to have an order. But again, looking at Denzel's side, Denzel does not really care about what you're doing with your life in that regard. Bible says do not have sex before marriage, and this, that. Do not, like, so many different other things. Denzel honestly does not really care if you're having sex before marriage. Denzel knows people who literally have gangbangs and all of these other crazy, outrageous stuff. And honestly, I look at him like, oh, all right, no judgment. You enjoying that? That's you. So that's also something that might go over here, in this sense. You have an OnlyFans. Okay. Theology might not be okay with that. But then the middle part, Bible says, don't kill. Okay, Denzel also agrees with that. That's in the middle of the Venn diagram. It doesn't matter if the Bible said that or not. I don't believe that you should kill. Bible says don't steal. Yeah, I agree with that. Certain things. So I've been like building and constructing this whole like Venn diagram. But again, at the end of the day, being a Christian means submitting what I believe over here to what I believe over here.
Yeah.
Because I am choosing to believe and have faith that God not only knows what's best, but wants what's best. And that choice to believe that is faith.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, yeah, honestly, I mean, one of the examples that my friend David had used at one point is that when Steve Jobs first created the iPhone, this man said, don't jailbreak it. Which for those of y'all who are kind of like young and everything, jailbreaking is pretty much where you could like hack your iPhone. Yeah.
That was a big thing when I was in like 7th grade.
Same. Yeah. So like you could hack your iPhone, do all of this wild stuff on it and everything. Like I used to do this thing where like I'd like hit my phone and then all of the apps would fall to the bottom. It was crazy. But then everybody who pretty much had jailbroken their phone, it started to like there was just these like glitches that started to happen, and it's just like, see, like, sure, at one point you would think like, yeah, we live in life or whatever, but now we've chosen to believe that we know better about the creation than the creator did. And Steve Jobs, when it breaks down, then Steve Jobs is kind of like, told y'all not to jailbreak it. Y'all had fun, but now see the long-term consequences. Because again, Christianity holds itself up. What if God, for whatever reason, has these rules that even though Denzel might not really care for, he's saying, don't jailbreak the world. Don't start doing this. Don't start doing that. Don't start doing that. It's not because I'm trying to keep you from having fun or whatever, but because there's an order to things. And if you mess with this order, then just like the iPhone that you jailbroke and now it like glitched up and everything, you're gonna glitch up humanity. You're gonna glitch up, the world in some sense. And you're gonna regret this sometime down the road. I don't know when, but sometime down the road. Well, that could be a really good point. Or it could be BS. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's like that's where I kind of like submit my faith to. So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I was just gonna say was that, going back to like hypocrisy and all of that, I fully agree with everything that you said. Like don't use the church and all of that. Again, like that's why I claim myself to be like a Jesus follower. Like I'm just trying to live like how he was. I'm just trying to follow the stuff that he did, but don't look at me. And I use an example in one of my videos, misconceptions on Christianity. I think it was part 1, where I said that those who there's a lot of people who hate Steph Curry because of his fans. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, his fans just love him and they're zealots and they're acting the way they are. But what has Steph Curry actually done to you? You don't got to hate him for that. Personally, I don't really like LeBron, but that's mainly because LeBron, to me, he's a crybaby and he does this. But even I still would never say that like LeBron is not a good player. Like when people are like, oh, LeBron's whack, I'm like, all right, hold on. I don't really like LeBron, but he's a dope player.
The facts are he still can play.
Now with Jesus, I don't know what problem people would have about him. Now, if it's because like, oh, Jesus said that thing about homosexuality, okay, that's a fair point. I get that. But aside from maybe that and like other stuff, it's like, what problem would you really have with Jesus? If you don't have a problem with actually who Jesus is, then you might not necessarily hate Jesus himself.
Right.
His followers. And you have to learn how to separate that and then maybe push aside the followers and get to know Jesus on your own through reading the Bible, or, at least from a Christian standpoint, I would say reading the Bible. But I know that being an open-minded person, kind of controversial to say, but like you can learn about Jesus from other faiths and religions and stuff like that, and get to know him through that way too. Even though, again, I would recommend getting to know him through the scriptures. But yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Denzel, where I'm kind of at, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but this is kind of where I am. I
Mhm.
don't really expect people who don't believe in Jesus to act like Jesus. Like I'm not really going to expect American society to really understand um why we believe some of the things that we do unless they take the time to like get to know it. So
Mhm.
I think my expectation of like American society has also changed too. If you don't believe in Jesus, well then I'm not saying it's okay to go out and like do all these crazy things, but I mean essentially we don't even have the same fundamental beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um I don't say that to say that doesn't matter what you believe, but I think for me, my shift of focus has kind of been like, hey, like Christians, can we read our Bibles? Can we do that? Can
Those of
we
us who do believe in Jesus.
yeah, like for those of us to who would say I believe in the resurrected Jesus Christ and I also believe and try to follow his teachings to my best ability to the best of my abilities, like part of the reason why American society has so much issues with us is because we say one thing when we do another. Can we focus on like understanding our own faith? Can we I'm not saying don't stop evangelizing. I'm just saying get to know Jesus for yourselves and then like if you're going to say that you are a Christian, do what you say that you believe.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I don't really, and this might be a controversial statement. I don't think America has been a Christian nation for a while. If
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
I'm still reconciling and trying to figure out where does my understanding of Christianity fit within the larger global society. Like, does that mean we try to make rules for that would best go along with our faith?
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know where my faith fits into politics. What I do know is that Christianity should and does correctly transcend political parties. It transcends cultures. Like it does transcend all these things. I just don't know how that fits within politics and how I'm supposed to vote. As
Right.
like I don't. I'm still figuring all that out. I have no idea.
Yeah. And I would even say that I don't think that it does fit into politics. I don't think that, like, people who try to like be like, oh yeah, if you're a Christian then you have to go. I don't think it's black and white in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it is. Yeah,
If
I
it,
do think we make informed decisions.
mhm.
But to say that you're not a Christian if you're not a Republican, or you're not a Christian if you vote Democratic, I can't get with that.
Mhm.
I think I have a responsibility as a US citizen to vote.
Mhm.
But I'm still wrestling through how I think about the world fits into who I should vote for.
Absolutely.
Um, but I do have a problem with Christians who are like, oh, if you're not a Republican, you're not saved. Or if you're not Democrat, you're not saved. I have absolute issue with that. One, because if you want to use the Bible as the basis, we then have to acknowledge that political parties were not even in the historical narrative of the Bible.
Yeah.
Kings and kingdoms. So for you, you
Mhm.
know, to say that you have to be a Christian and subscribe to a particular political party, I just feel like is heresy. But that's just my personal opinion.
Sure. No, and I love
My
that.
personal opinion.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm still figuring all that out, Denzel. And honestly, I think now I'm just okay with that.
Yeah. I
I'm
think
okay with being in a phase where I'm just figuring it out.
same, same. That's awesome. That makes me so happy. And in fact, speaking of which, one of the ways that I've been figuring stuff out right now, kind of like what you said, if God is really real, then he will reveal the truth to you, kind of thing. First of all, ever since I was younger, like, so this is how I know that I've just always been on that wave. Like, my Bible is always an apologetic study Bible. So like ever since I was like young, like a young teen, I didn't just get like a regular Bible. For those who might not know, an apologetic study Bible is pretty much like it has all of these little like blurbs in it where it's like like it has like at the bottom, like, okay, so this verse is saying this, and we actually found these artifacts historically because boom, boom. So it's like giving you reason to be like, okay, so the Bible is real because this is what people actually went to go, oh, so the tomb is over here. I can go and look and see that it's not there. Oh, so 500 people really did witness this, and boom. Oh, okay, I guess that does make kind of like a lot of sense that all the disciples really had to do was deny Jesus. And the fact that they didn't deny Jesus and they were murdered
Yes,
means
and
maybe,
was okay with that.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they really did see Jesus after all, after he died. That like, I don't know. I don't know. So like that's one thing. Number two, I've been praying and I'm just straight up with God. I'm like, God, I know that the irony of this is that I'm at a point where it's not even one thing for me is that I can never, ever, ever deny the existence of the spiritual realm. So, you know how like earlier you were saying, like, oh, people who don't believe in God and everything like that. Yeah, same. However, I could present a devil's advocate like argument, like maybe it's not even that they don't believe in God, but they just don't believe in the God of the Bible. But they do believe in like an intelligent designer and creator and something that might like, whatever. Because I've experienced way too many spiritual things to not be like, okay,
Something got to be out there.
something there, and maybe we're just all trying to make sense of it. Like the
Yeah.
Greeks, they thought of it as like, the Greek gods and goddesses, they had their understanding of certain things. Then, the Hindus, they had their understanding of things. Everybody has their understanding of like, okay, we're all seeing the spiritual realm. You're calling this whatever, I'm calling it a twin flame or a past life or whatever. We're just all looking at the same thing, and you're calling it red, I'm calling it blue. It's probably green. We don't know what the crap this is. We're just trying to make sense of it. So for all we know, we could just be reading a Bible like that's telling us like, yeah, it's red. And we're like thinking like, yeah, we have the right answer when maybe we don't. But again, like the faith comes into like believing and choosing that, yeah, we do have the right answer. But every other religion is kind of like doing the same thing. So then there's controversy over there. But
Yeah.
yeah, all that to say that my number two is that I've been praying, and the irony of it all is that I've been saying like, God, I don't know even 100% if you are truly like the God of the Bible or what, but whatever, whoever I'm praying to right now, I want you to understand my heart and to know that I am trying to, like, I'm not like one of those people who just been like, yeah, no, forget God, forget Christianity, go do this. I'm actively trying to understand and receive truth. And I want you to help me. I don't have to understand everything in the world. I don't even think that my human mind can get that. But I want you to put slap in the face signs, not even just one. I want you to slap me across the face 3 to 5 times to let me know, even if it's just for myself, nah, there is a God. This is why for me, and again, I'm not going to coerce anybody. I'm just going to clarify this is why, this is what I've experienced, and that's just me. If you want to take it, cool. If not, then that's all right. And then the last thing, number three, is I've been reading through this book called He Came to Set the Captives Free. I'm gonna put I'm gonna put in the description. There's an audio book version that like I've been also like listening to. I read that book when I first became a Christian, or started taking my faith seriously when I was like 15, 16 around.
Yeah.
And now it's like 10 years later, I'm rereading it with a more skeptical mind so that, just like what we said at the beginning, after this phase, I want to come out stronger than I've ever been, or being like, dang, okay, well, guess I've kind of lived those years believing something that's not entirely what it is, but it's benefited me, and I'm just gonna walk in this way with a few tweaks here and there. I'm not gonna do no Ravi Zacharias type stuff, but you know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see. Not the Ravi Zacharias thing, like we'll see like where I'd end up like after that. But the book, I don't really like the title because I feel like it's very preachy. But what this
It's
book
long.
is really
That's
about,
what it is. It's really long. For no
yeah,
reason.
yeah, true. It's written by two different people.
Okay.
One of them her name is Rebecca Brown, and she is a Christian who worked as a nurse in a hospital where most of the other workers were Satanists. And then,
So interesting.
yeah, and then the second person who's writing the book, her name is Elaine. And she was not just a Satanist, but she was known as Satan's top priestess slash bride. And apparently Satan has 5 of those in every nation. So she was a big deal. Like, it wasn't just like practicing Satanism. She was up there. She claims to have seen and hung out with Satan, had sex with Satan several times, had she was in, like, as deep as you could probably get, balls deep. We'll go with it. We'll say that,
Yeah.
and she was instructed to go and kill Rebecca, the Christian, because Rebecca was like evangelizing and stuff like that. Satan wasn't liking that. And then she ends up getting saved in the process. She ends up believing in Jesus in the process and everything. Satan gets pissed off, and then Satan pretty much tries to kill Rebecca and Elaine, and obviously it didn't work. But they do go through a lot of spiritual warfare, and this is their story of how all of that took place. And at the beginning of the book, there's a prayer that's saying, like, Satan does not want you to know all of the things that we're going to expose in this book. He is going to attack you with wanting to be distracted, to sleep, to do all of these things with fear, whatever it might be. Don't let that happen. Go through the book, kind of thing. And then at the end of the book, it even says how God apparently warned Rebecca that because Satan has people working in all different areas, the police force, publishers, whatever it might be, people are going to try to discredit you and discredit this book. And lo and behold, if you go and look up the book right now and all of that, you're going to see a whole bunch of comments and like, oh yeah, she was on drugs and this stuff isn't even true and this is that. Again, on one hand, maybe they're right. Maybe she really is on drugs. Maybe all of this is fake. Maybe it's just another thing that, whatever. But on the other hand, maybe what she's talking about is the truth. And Satan is just trying to, again, deceive us into not believing it. So that's one thing that now I'm like working through the book right now, again, with like a more analytical and skeptical mind.
Yeah.
And from reading through it, it's like, okay, clearly, once again, there's a spiritual realm because she's talking about some stuff that's happened, like summoning demons, astral projection, all of this crazy stuff. And I'm just trying to understand, like, I guess how the God of the Bible would fit in there, which, is continuing to go through. So those are the 3 things that I'm working through right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, please put that in the description because I love to read. So that's the thing. And I also wanted to just say I'm really glad that you have an apologetics Bible because I do think that is an area that's lacking in the church. Like, we kind of assume that, the apologetics realm is for like the PhD people, but I think people in local church not taking advantage of like trying to study apologetics has actually hurt us. Like, those things are not reserved just for the pastors. They're not just reserved for the PhDs. They're not just reserved for the debaters. I do think as a Christian, I do have a responsibility to kind of look into stuff like that. So I love that. And I really just think at the end of the day, whatever decision the people watching or even you come to, whether you decide to, not like you, but just like people decide to follow Jesus or not, whatever you decide, I just want to make sure that it's a well-informed decision.
Facts. And that's why we clarify and not coerce. Like, that's a misconception on the Bible. So let me clarify this. Okay, now that I've clarified this misconception, you still don't want to believe in it? All right, that's cool. As long as you know the truth and you're not going around not being a Christian because of some misconception. Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I want at the end of the day. And I know that everybody may not come to follow Jesus and his teachings. I know that. But like I said, if that is your decision, I just really want it to be well informed and not based off of false teaching, not based off of poor examples, not based off of anything but like Jesus and his teachings, and looking past like looking at historical evidence, like those types of things. Like I just really want you to just make a well-informed decision.
Mhm.
And so, like you're saying, my job is kind of tell you where I am, tell you my Christian journey, things that I'm working through. And if it helps you, great. And if not, thank you for listening. Truly. I mean, like truly. Like, I mean, just thank you for listening.
Absolutely. JeSani, this was perfect.
Oh, don't let me cry.
Yeah, no, this was absolutely, I can't. Oh, and you're an Enneagram 1, so you like hearing that word. Yes, this was absolutely perfect. And I'm so grateful that, even though we hadn't seen each other in a long time, we haven't even been able to really like talk in a long time. Like
Yeah.
we've hopped on, we're able to open up in this way, talk for like 2 hours right now.
That's crazy. It really feels like it's 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it was so seamless, all of that, and I was like energized the whole time. Um, yeah, I thank you so much for this, and I know it's been very helpful for me. It's been super helpful for me. It's been very validating for me to hear someone who I know personally is a strong Christian, but not strong in the sense that like she turned a blind eye to like things, you know what I mean? But like strong in the sense that she understands perspectives and all that. Plus she thinks like how I do. And yet she still goes this way, but then she also gives me the room. You're not like saying like again, like you're not throwing rocks at me and you're not trying to like force me to believe anything. I just love that so much. And I really feel like you are the type of Christian that we need more in the world of yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. Like you do your work and studying it, you love people, you listen to them, you understand where they're coming from, and you clarify, you don't coerce, and then you just kind of, just like you said, you just let it go, and you just kind of like hope for the best. But then at the end of the day, you do you, and you focus on the people that are Christians, you try to help them out in that way. And I really, really, really highly respect and admire you for it. So thank you for featuring on this video and this podcast and everything. We planned this like 2, 3 months ago,
Yeah.
and yeah, and and I Dom fashion, you said, yeah, you're gonna do this around this time, and lo and behold, you came around and you did it, and like it was so heavily like worth the wait. So
Oh, thank you.
like it's not gonna be something that I just post like right now and then it's just gonna like drift away in the wind. Like this is gonna be something that even for years to come, maybe even like 10 years from now, I'm gonna look back at this conversation. I don't know 100% where I'm gonna be at mentally, but I'm excited to like see my future self listen to this, even like maybe my children one day, like, and all the people that are gonna be impacted by the words that you spoke, that NITIFE stream of consciousness that you had, all of that. So yeah, all of this to say that I'm just really, really beating a dead horse, and saying that like I'm so happy that I picked like the perfect person to be in this video.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, just because I really do love people, and I really have a heart well, really just for myself. I want to understand.
Mm,
So it's out of my own desire to understand that I want others to understand. So I am really like conversational, and I want to ask questions. Like I'll tell you what I think, but I really just want to know, like, what do you think? And like, how do you reconcile with it? So I think really just thank you for giving me the space to talk. I know that Christianity kind of has a bad rap right now.
mhm.
And so I didn't want to get on here and just like open up myself to like all these criticism. Like, first of all, y'all don't even know me. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I think these are just conversations we need to have. And I thank you for like providing a safe space for me to really talk about my faith and kind of where I am, and not really worried about what people say.
For sure.
But it doesn't matter. But anyway, the point is, I think it's just really important that we make people feel safe enough to have conversations, whether you're a Christian, whether you're an atheist. I think we should be able to sit across from each other and have a non-threatening conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think if we went with that approach, the world would look a lot different, even if the world doesn't all start following Jesus. I think there's a decent and basic respect that we should have of all humanity that should transcend your own worldview. So I just want to say thank you for allowing me the space to talk about it, and thank you for, I guess, letting me still very much so be a Christian on your channel, because I also know you can get a bad rap for having a Christian on your channel. So like, which is, you know, kind of crazy to think about, but I mean, it's true. So yeah, just thank you for that. Thank you for thinking that of me, because you know me, that is really my goal, is just to represent Christ well. And so thank you for trusting me enough to have this conversation. And I've enjoyed it. I can do this for days. Truly, I enjoy this type of stuff. So you're a great host. You're doing big things. I love you. I miss you. You're great. Just keep doing the good work, man. Just keep doing good work.
Thank you, JeSani, and thanks everyone for watching and for listening. Be sure to leave questions, comments, concerns. Follow JeSani on Twitter if you with it. Yeah, and is there anything else that you wanted to plug in? You still working on your blog?
That's hilarious. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's J Trinae. I'll text it to him so he can put it there. I did have a blog at one point, and it's still up, so you can check it out. It's thedesertplace.com. I have not posted in a while, but it's definitely something I'm thinking about bringing back up soon. So, but there are posts that you can see. So, little known fact, I used to be, I still very much am into like spoken word and like that type of thing, poetry. I just like words in general.
Yeah.
So I post a lot of my thoughts, or maybe some of my poems on there, so you can definitely check that out. So yeah, but that's basically it. I'm, I post and not post and tweet, and I really actually have like many TED Talks on Instagram, kind of like Jackie Hill Perry. But just follow me on Instagram and just kind of, we can have conversations.
For sure. All right. Thanks again for watching, y'all, and